Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for the sudden mid-season finale of Attack on Titan. I did not know this would be a mid-season finale until last week. I thought we were going all the way into fall, but we aren't. We are off until April after this, which this is actually not an awful episode to leave off on for 6 months. It's not great. I really wish we would get to see the retake Walmaria mission immediately, but we're gonna spend some time away. Hopefully they'll have a phenomenal budget. I've heard next season is amazing on the manga, so hopefully it'll be well worth the wait come April. But before we get into that, when we last left our heroes, Aaron had remembered, or had been trying to remember who the scout he saw with his father on the fall of Walmaria was, when he woke up his dad's memories during the Rod stuff. And he realized it was Commandant Keith Shades from the training, from boot camp, who has gotten really old and looked nothing like that, so I still don't know how he found that out. And so we headed back to the training camp, where all the heads of the scouts and the 104th all had a sit down with Keith Shades, who told them about how he had met Grisha outside the walls 20 years ago, brought him in, never really found out his origins, and really didn't have a whole lot of information at all, besides a quick little speech from Carla about the importance of normalcy, which is a theme I'm really big on, and so I really liked it. There's value in not being special and just being a person, so I really dug that. But for the most part, his backstory didn't really lend all that much to the lore. I did see people point out afterwards, stress, the similarities in, Keith and, Aaron's, life trajectories. Both of them thought they were special, both, Aaron because of his Titan shifting powers, and Shades because of what Grisha told him. They both kind of come to realize that they're not that special, and that that's okay. So that was a really nice bit, but then they leave off. We open on the final episode of our season, episode 49. And so we open up with a bit of a recap, and then it's Erwin, Levi, Hanji, Zachary, and maybe a couple other people examining the box of Titan, or the syringe of Titan serum that Kenny gave Levi 2 episodes ago. And they need to decide who to give the Titan serum to, just in case they need to use it. And I'm a little bit skeptical what they think what that'll do. Cause the races had this whole ceremony, to create a new Titan shifter, and that involved creating a Titan while the current shifter was, chained up and clearly visible. So, that made sense. But if they're using the Titan serum in the wild, if they inject, Sasha or someone, and if Aaron's, out of, the only reason I can see them to use it if Aaron is out of control and they need a new shifter who is controllable. And first of all, new Titan shifters are never controllable, as we saw with Rod when Rod didn't become a shifter. When we saw Aaron, when he first shifted, back in Trost, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. So it was a little weird to me, but I guess that's what they're doing. Also, because, what's to stop, say, Sasha, as I mentioned, after she becomes a Titan, but before she kills Aaron, from just laying waste to the scouts. So that whole thing's a little, weird. But they give it to Levi because he's, the strongest soldier there, and if he needs to inject someone with it, he can. And then they announce to each other, and then eventually to the scouts as a whole, they're finally going to retake Walmaria. We'll finally find out what's in the basement in April, because Studio Wit, man. Studio Wit. Alright. But after that, there's this long, tense, really good conversation between Erwin and Levi, where Levi's you're this great strategist, we don't want to throw you out to the wolves because you lost an arm and you can barely fight. Sit this one out. And Erwin's no. I spent my entire life wondering, for what reason my father died. How did we get inside the walls? What is the secret to all of this? I'm not going to sit at home at Trost while y'all go figure everything out. I'm going to be there in the basement when we finally open it up. and I love this. And like Levi threatens to like break his leg so he can't run, so he can't like come with them. And Erwin's like, I'll still come. I'll just like sit on a horse and let myself die. You're not gonna rid of me that easily. And oh, Erwin. I love him so much. Okay. And then we have what is maybe the highlight of maybe even the season. It's a really funny extended sequence. The entire like party before they leave, like just we just because like I do think it was important that we had the commercial break right before the party scene to remind us that like there really isn't meat in this world and like meat for like the masses in this world anymore because there just is not the land to like mass produce livestock. And so when we see, that the scouts went all out and bought a bunch of meat, it made a lot more sense when they're like, as soon as like the meat comes out, they look at it in awe and like all freak out. And it was so funny. And like they're all like arguing over, who gets what portion of the meat. And Sasha takes her table's entire like thing of meat and tries to eat it all herself until like Connie and Jean in like a 2-minute segment have to like slowly like suffocate her until she passes out so they can like tie her up against the post so she can't steal all the food. Which like classic Sasha right there. And then after all that's done, there's a little bit where I mentioned last week that like it's kind of easy to forget how little time has passed, given that it's been 5.5 years since season 1 came out. And like we get an exact like time frame. It's been 4 months since the Battle of Trost in season 1. And 2 of those months were off screen last week. So all of these 40-something episodes took place over the course of 2 months. And that's, I didn't, it's something like I knew it hadn't been a long time, but like that short? I mean, I knew all of Trost was a day. And like, if I really like thought about it, I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. If I'd like binge watched the series. But I've been with this show since the dub came out in 2014. And like, it just, wow, all of that happened in 2 months. And then a 2-month time skip. And like, okay. But after that, they have this conversation with Marlo, who of course is still new to the Scouts, has never been on a scouting expedition before. Due to his time in the MPs. And, Marlo's complaining about, like, he won't learn anything if he's in the back. And, Jean is like, nah, you'll die if you're in the front. You have no experience fighting Titans in the wild. Which, like, Jean is absolutely right. He does not. And he should absolutely be in the back. And then Jean makes a comment like, oh, but the real person to worry about is this suicidal maniac over here who just only knows how to charge in. And Aaron, his initial reaction is a lot calmer than it used to be, and I was like, oh boy, here comes the sullen Aaron of the past couple weeks again. And just like a few minutes later, he's like back into his full-on, fuck you, Jean mode. And like, as much as Aaron has changed this season, and I kind of complained about him last week, how he's just kind of sad and mopey, and I don't, as much as, we like to make fun of, have to kill all the Titans Aaron, sad and mopey Aaron isn't much better. But it's nice to see, even with that, he's still the same quick to anger, wants to beat the shit out of Jean at heart that he's always been. And that's just a really fun scene. And honestly, everything about that fight works on just about every level. Armin and Mikasa are so used to this, they don't even care. I especially love the bit, the entire crowd is cheering them on, no one's stopping them, and Jean and Aaron are really confused by this, and they really want someone to stop them. And so by the end of the fight, they're like, very slowly landing punches on each other that they can, like, barely feel. And, like, that's such a funny, that's a funny shot. And finally Levi shows up and just knocks them out real fast. And, like, alright, fight's over. Everybody go home. We're going to war tomorrow. But before they go home, Mikasa, Armin, and Aaron all go home together. And they stop on what I'm pretty sure are the same steps from the night before Trost. Which, like, as someone who loves a good callback, especially if it's not, like, a huge, like, super prevalent callback, like, it's actually either not that important or, like, super important, I love the fact they're on those same steps from, like, all those years ago from our perspective, only a few months from theirs. But like, I don't know, it kind of that entire scene really brings home how much they've grown since they sat on those steps, years and years ago, and like also how much they've stayed the same. You know, they still, like, as you'll recall, way back in the day, Eren hated those peaceful days in Shiganshina. And now, with all the hell he's experienced, they're what he wants most. You know, he's like, he brings up, we'll bring those days back. The days they spent, you know, playing around Shiganshina. But thanks to those bastards, they'll never be the same, and they'll pay for that. And that's such, it's growth. You know, it's not some drastic change in motivations, because Eren is always going to be, I have to kill all the Titans. No matter what his, like, emotional state is, it's still his driving goal. But, like, he's not the same guy he was when Shiganshina fell. He's not the same guy when Trost was attacked. He's changed in very significant ways, and I really like that. Eren's development in this episode alone has been phenomenal. Though there is one thing I have to bring up, and it's when they see, there's, like, a guy walking by, and for a second, they think he's Hannes. God, fucking Hannes died last season. Oh God, I was a fucking wreck. Hannes deserved the world, and he gave his life for Eren to fix the mistake of not saving Carla. And fuck. But then the next day, They all head up Wall Rose to leave Trost, because again they can't leave Trost the normal way because the gate is like permanently closed after Bertolt kicked it in season 1. And all of Trost comes out to like wish them goodbye, despite the fact they like tried to keep it secret. Led by Flegel, who is, I think I accidentally called him Dino last time he showed up, which is his dad. But, like, Flegel, my man. Honestly, I think Flegel has a thing for Hanji. That's my theory. But, like, they bring it up in the episode. But I really love the contrast between, like, the scouts leaving this time and, like, when the scouts, like, first came back in episode 1. There was this whole, like, oh, they're a waste of our tax money, and, like, fuck them. They're just going out and dying for nothing. And now, thanks to, you know, Eren's hardening abilities and maybe just a sense of, like, positivity in the new regime, there's this genuine sense of change. This sense that there's, like, a hope in the air and that we can win. And this is maybe the first time in Titans history that there's ever been a real sense that humanity can beat the Titans, Wall Maria can be reclaimed, and maybe even the world outside. So that's a great thing to see. Yeah, it's a new world. They're going to Wall Maria. We're gonna finally get Wall Maria back in 6 months. It's gonna be a while. But yeah, even if this were not a finale, it would have been a really fun episode, just as a way to like really get us hyped for the new arc. I am more than a little upset that it's a finale, just because Titan, have consistency in your schedule. I mean, nothing is as bad as how long was it? Was it 4 years? It was like 3.5, because it ended in September of 2013 and came back in April of 2017. It was 3.5 years between the end of 1 and the beginning of 2. That was absurd. But honestly, as much as like we like to shit on Titan's release schedule, I'm fine with, 12 episodes a year is not bad, especially for a monthly manga, for an adaptation of a monthly manga. It makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I'll get into that a bit more at the end of the video, when I talk about the season as a whole and the episode as how it works as a finale. But at the end, we see Reiner and Bertolt are waiting for them in Shiganshina. Bertolt feels like he's changed a lot in the 2 months since we saw him last time. He looks a lot better, all I'm gonna say. And then we have the ending. The ending credits. And, I'm always down for, like, surprise fuckery with endings. The end of Steins Gate episode 22 is, like, a highlight of anime. I fucking love that scene. But like getting that random shot of the random like quick little scene of Eren, Mikasa, and Levi, which are all kind of my least favorite character dynamics in general. They're just not as fun as everyone else. And it just feels like a random scene. It's not like a tease. It's not like an important scene. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that kind of like, oh, here's a random scene from the future to like whet your appetites. I'm not a fan of the Boruto Kawaki scene in Boruto. Um, if I were a little older, I don't know if I would have been a fan of the Naruto and Sasuke scene, the first episode of Shippuden. So, and I didn't really dig this either. It just felt, having that last shot be Reiner and Bertolt waiting for them in Shiganshina would have been much better than just like randomly throwing a scene from mid-season in. That just did not work on really any level. But yeah, apart from that, this episode was a lot of fun. I will admit, these past couple episodes, much like the last two episodes of the season in Academia, did feel a bit more like set up for more content than really a finale. And really, was 47 the Battle of Orvud? Because that felt like a finale. As much as I had a lot of problems with it, it felt like a finale. But it was still a fun episode. That tense conversation between Levi and Erwin was great. And that entire party sequence, including the stuff on the steps, so good. And, seeing the citizenry of Trost out there to support them, all great stuff. So yeah, this was a good episode. As a finale, again, it did its thing. I just looked up, 47 was the stuff with Kenny, and that also works for the finale just because, like, he was kind of relevant to that kind of, like, wraps up everything with the races, and then having, Shades come up to, learning about Grisha's past to, like, lean into this arc actually does make a good bit of sense. So honestly, this season being 10 episodes would have been a pain, but it would have, as long as the other two episodes would have been picked up next season, making that, like, 14 episodes or 15 episodes, I don't know. It would have worked better, I feel like, if it had ended with friends instead of ending now. But anyway, that's just my thinking in general. As a whole, this season, so season 2 was amazing. Everything about season 2 worked on just about every level. Season 1, it's been a while since I've seen season 1, but like it was what got Titan popular. But also had all the problems of being 25 episodes and not being as well produced and, not being as well animated or well funded or having all of the attention of Attack on Titan and therefore all the budget that, the sequel to Attack on Titan got for season 2. Season 2 I still think was my favorite season. This season was a bit more of a mixed bag. It started off really strong. All the stuff with the coup, with everything from like the beginning of the season all the way through, all the way through Rod becoming a Titan. That all worked, and like the scale of Rod's Titanry was incredible and knock your socks off. What the fuck? But at the end, I've seen, even before I watched this season, certain critics of this arc have said like by the end it felt like Isayama got bored and just really decided to just like wrap up everything as soon as possible. And, like, given, how the Kenny squad got killed by falling rocks, and the killing Rod went so fucking easy, I'm willing to accept that as, like, probable. That feels like how it happened. But still, the highs were absolutely incredible. From everything in that episode in the cave, with the Levi squad versus the Kenny squad, and then everything in, with Rod, Historia, and Eren. And I had a lot of fun this season either way. I really enjoyed doing these reviews for the season, and I really cannot wait for April. Before I go, a couple things I want for next season. That is Historia with them? Because, they're going to see Ymir, no doubt, next season, because she's... Well, we don't really know what happened to her after they met up with the Beast Titan, but I can't imagine they just killed Ymir off-screen, because they spent too much time building her up. And also, I know that her backstory came later in the manga, so she's definitely still alive. But, like, it seems weird to bring Ymir back without Historia, given their plots are so intrinsically wrapped up together. But it also seems weird to bring Historia along on this mission, given that she is the queen now. Also, one complaint I did have about this season, and honestly, even kind of last season, it was great just to, like, while season 1 was a lot more the Eren, Mikasa, and Armin show, season 2 really expanded the cast, and really, or not really expanded the cast, but brought the supporting characters who were all kind of like one-bit jokes, for the most part, not entirely, of course, but like into their own. You know, Sasha was always like, oh, she eats a lot. And then, you know, seeing her past with her family really made Sasha more of her own character. Same with, you know, learning about the tragedy of Connie's village. Even Jean. Jean became his own character by the back half of season 1. And season 3, they weren't as important. And as a result, I started to realize how much I missed that bond between Eren, Mikasa, and Armin, because that was also out this season. Eren was kind of on his own. Eren was kidnapped for 10 episodes, for one thing. Not 10 episodes, but like 8 or 9. Eren was, like, captured by Rod. And so we didn't really get to see his bond with Mikasa and Armin. And judging by the end of this episode, and the fact they're going back to Shiganshina, there is no way we're not going to see that bond in full force next season. We better fucking do it. So yeah. That's all I have to say for my final review of Titan for the season. Hope you all enjoyed the episode and the video. If you did, feel free to check out any of my other videos. I have plenty of other stuff going on every now and then. Fall season is kicking off sometime today, or I have a lot of homework tonight, so maybe tomorrow I'll have my video on my fall anime choices. I'll also just lay it out here, just in case you don't want to watch that video. That they are, of course, Boruto, finishing up Angels of Death, Fairy Tail, and Ghoul, and then my other 2 are Goblin Slayer, which I'm not that excited about. It seems just too, like, mean-spirited for my taste, but I'll give it a shot, you know. I didn't expect to like Angels of Death as much as I did. And of course, the show I'm really excited about, SAO Alicization, because Sword Art was, like, one of the 4 anime that got me into anime. It was, like, Naruto, FMA, Fairy Tail, and Sword Art. And, like, that's what led to this channel. So I'm really excited to talk about that. I'll go into more detail, probably tomorrow, about on the channel update that'll be for that. But yeah. So again, hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe, or do whatever the fuck you want. The straw poll's gone, so don't worry about that. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!